Martini says, Martini, thanks so much for doing this. I've been doing 3D for a while, but never got a job with it. My main focus is making visually compelling sculptures for 3D printing. Okay, I've heard before that my models may be a little too detailed for tabletop. I'm hoping to try and have some like figurines people can also print. Let's take a look. A secondary goal of is to make intriguing illustration with my sculptures. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, you're definitely going into this very horror themed space. I haven't seen a lot of. Oh well, there's this modelers. They're called Archvillain Games, and they do a very, again, like realistic horror stuff theme elements. So you might want to reference them. It's always very important, guys, and this is a life lesson for everyone. This thing that we do as 3D is also part of a business, right? Like a market. There's a lot of like people selling, buying things around the world. And one of the things that you need to do is you need to look and see what others are doing. So if you try to work on a sort of like an isolation like process and just think that people are gonna go and look at your stuff just because it's your stuff, it's not gonna work. Like you gotta compare yourself and see what others are doing, what's working for them and what's not working. Don't do what's not working and then do what is working, right? So in your particular case, I think you have a good a good product, like a good like characters. Like I could definitely see this guys being 3D printed and painted for like collectors and things like that. But you gotta see how to market your stuff in a different way, right? So for instance, one thing that I've seen people do is they'll do things like a collection, right? Like they'll be like, hey, I'm gonna do, just to do a very basic example, I'm gonna do the 7 like sins, right? Like I'm gonna do all of the 7 traditional scenes from like religion, like Christian and Catholic myth, and I'm gonna do 7 different demons that represent each of the sins, and then you sell them as a collection, right? Like you create like a little box and you maybe 3D print them and sell them, or just sell the STLs, but you sell them as a product, right? So that's a different kind of like advice that I'm giving you, but I'm doing it because you're mentioning about 3D print. And it's about how would you like to buy a product, or how would you package a product so that it's good for people to be, what's the word, so that people can see it. No, let me phrase that again. Sorry, I got mixed up with one of the comments, and I'm gonna answer in just a second. When you're trying to provide or sell a product, you need to put yourself in the shoes of who the consumer is going to be and ask yourself, what would I like as a consumer to be buying, right? So if you're going to be doing this kind of stuff right here, what would you include in this? Is it going to be a cool illustration, like a card with a little bit of lore or something about it? Does it have enough detail? Are you including supports? All of that kind of stuff, it's important. Now, I do think you're going a little bit too like flimsy with all of these things. Like all of this like very thin fingers can very easily break in 3D prints. So you might want to again reference what they're doing on some of the other things right here, my friend, so that you can get again, so that you can offer a product that's a little bit more desirable by others. Now, this is another important thing. If you see that the market for this sort of like horror, very creepy looking things is very small, you might want to try to see what other things you could do to appeal to a broader audience, right? Because that's one of the things that's gonna give you a little bit more ideas to go from there. But you definitely have the sculpting capabilities. I can see a lot of really cool sculpts here on your portfolio. So yeah, definitely keep working on that, and you can probably find a niche specifically about that. Do you think I should separate the illustration images and the sculpts in my portfolio? Yes, I would probably do that. I'll probably separate those two things. Efren says, if I'm working on characters, is it necessary to rig the characters so they can be posed, or should I sculpt post characters and retop? No, you should always sculpt in like a traditional B pose, and then with proper topology, you should be able to rig them fairly quickly. And I have videos about that. You can use this software called AccuRig, which is free, especially for humanoid characters. So AccuRig is really good, and it will give you a basic rig that you can pose a character with. So yeah. Will the environment course be releasing in September, October? That's a great question. It's a complicated answer though. So we'll talk about that soon, hopefully. It's coming. It's coming, but unfortunately, I'm facing a very hard decision with that course that I need to sort of like go through and but it's coming. It's coming soon. I hope I'm going to be able to release it at the end of October. I think that will be a good sort of like date, but there's some big changes. It's NDA. Yeah, it's NDA right now. Some big changes on that course. Okay, let's go on the next one.